What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to JY's Adventures. We back, man. You guys read the title, How to Beat the Death Gods game in Death Note 2. We already checked out the first one by Cinema Summary, the GOAT. We here to check out the second one, man. I can't wait to see how he breaks down this one. I didn't even know they had a live action. I went back to watch the first live action movie and boom, he dropped the second one, bruh. I'm excited to see what Cinema Summary got for us in this one. Link to the original video is down in the description. If you're new to the channel, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, comment multiple times for the algorithm, and be sure to watch until the end. Without any further ado, let's go.
You are the deadliest serial killer in the world, but someone is following in your footsteps, and every mistake they make could get you caught. You'll have
heart
to
attacks
sacrifice
already
everyone to outsmart the world's greatest detective, and
Yo!
only the most brutal plans will keep you one step ahead.
That Shinigami
When the
look
world
clean.
is days away from finding out your true identity, what do? I'm going to break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat the Death Gods game in Death Note 2.
Death Note 2, the second part, y'all.
It's been 6
Look at
months since
Ryuk.
Lightyear discovered a
creepy.
Death Note and has been using it to kill criminals throughout the
6 months.
city by writing their names down in the book, hiding
Okay.
behind the alias Kira, which means
Kira.
killer in Japanese. The police haven't been able to gather enough evidence to catch him, but L here, the leading detective, still suspects Light
Working
is Kira,
hard.
the mysterious serial killer they are looking for. But after a tragic accident involving an FBI agent killing Light's girlfriend, the investigation
gone.
has started looking for other suspects. No one knows that Light secretly killed his own girlfriend by writing her name in the Death Note to avoid suspicion from the detectives. 2 days later, Light here arranges a funeral for his girlfriend, and everyone has gathered to pay their respects.
Oh,
He
man.
asks his father, the chief of police,
That's
for permission
sweet.
to join the investigation and help find Kira. But
His dad is so trusting of him. If he only knew, bruh. If he only knew.
he asks his father, the chief of police, for permission to join the investigation and help find Kira. But his father has no idea that Light here just wants to find L's true name so he can write it in his Death Note and kill him. Okay, joining the
Jeez.
investigation team as the same killer they're hunting down makes for a very high-pressure situation, and we needed a way to make sure we avoid suspicion for long enough to kill L, his arch-nemesis.
Okay.
If I were him, I would use beta blockers, which stops the effects of adrenaline on the body and slows down your heart rate.
Huh?
This way, I can join the investigation team without showing the physiological effects of stress and hide my anxiety from L if the
They got
investigation
those?
starts leading back to me. This is a risky strategy, but it's actually one that's been used by Sun Tzu, one of China's greatest military tacticians,
Sun
to
Tzu
infiltrate his
used
enemy's
that?
army and defeat them.
I heard
The
of
Art
Sun
of War
Tzu.
says,
Oh, the
in
war
order
book.
to know your enemy, you must
must
become
become-
your enemy. And Light here knows that even though it's risky, joining the police investigation puts him one step ahead.
It's a
the
good-
Art of War is now an Audible, and the principles in there teach Light and L how to win in every possible...
Yo, Cinema Summary, the transition to that sponsorship, my guy. That was a legendary transition. That,
situation.
This,
Taking
I'm gonna
advantage
go
of every
read that
weakness
book.
of
I'm
your
gonna buy that
opponent
book.
And neutralizing every strength is exactly what makes the Art of War the perfect book to beat your opponents
That
and watch from the top
transition,
military
yo.
tactics and strategy guide in 2,500 years. And with the new Audible Plus catalog, which includes hundreds of free titles, you can read the Art
I
of
actually
War
have
as
Audible.
soon as you sign up. It's
I do
only
have
a 1 hour
Audible.
listen, and in my life helped me think strategically and gain an advantage in every situation, just like Light and L. Thank you to Audible for sponsoring this video.
Yes,
Please
sir.
use my link, audible.com/howtobeat, or text howtobeat to 500
Go click the
500
link.
and claim your 100% free 1-month trial.
Go click the
Light
link.
here is taken to the investigation headquarters where he's
Let's
asked to
go.
hand over all communication devices.
Let's go,
This
y'all.
place has been designed with the best security to keep all its operations secret. He meets with a leading detective in the investigation.
Look at all
who
them
introduces
suites.
himself as Ryuzaki, using a fake name to protect his identity. The detective admits to Light that he still suspects him and that he had his girlfriend
course.
killed as a way to avoid suspicion.
Right.
Okay.
He
L
already
is
got it.
dangerously close to the truth.
L-
and with
L knows
one wrong
everything.
Move, Light could be caught. But I would use this problem as an opportunity to convince him that I wasn't Kira. Now,
How?
first of all, we know that L here is willing to break the law because we
Mm-hmm.
saw in the first movie that he planted cameras in Light's room without a warrant. So we have to assume this whole place is under surveillance as well. I would volunteer to live here at the headquarters to be observed, bring a page of the Death Note, write the names of my victims down inside of my pocket, and then erase it so there's no evidence. If all the victims die only during
While
office
he's
hours
locked
while I'm
up.
constantly under surveillance,
Right.
then it will appear increasingly unlikely that I was
There's no chance for them to suspect him.
office hours while I'm constantly under surveillance, then it will appear increasingly unlikely that I was Kira.
That's
The
a
Death
great
God
one,
Ryuk
Cinema
reminds
Summary.
Light that he can receive the ability to see someone's true name and date of death in exchange for half his lifespan.
Shinigami
It's
eyes.
a tempting offer, but Light here refuses. Okay, giving up half your lifespan is pretty expensive, but maybe there's still a way we can do this without the eyes and use the Death Note to discover L's true identity. As a citizen of Japan, L is not immune from the many obligations of living in a society and still has to file paperwork using his real name just like the rest of us. I would look for a way to take advantage of this, because we might not have his name, but we do have his phone number. Now, Japan basically has 4 telecommunications companies, which are NTT Docomo, KDDI, SoftBank, and Rakuten Mobile, and his name would be on file as a customer. If we figure out which company holds his number, then I would research the employees of that company and use the Death Note to kill one of them. But as an
research
additional
this man
detail of the
does.
death, I'd first make him bring me the name of the person on file for that number. This still works with rule number 4 of the Death Note, which lets you add details about the death before they die, and it will happen. We can get L's true name and write it in the Death Note to kill him without even needing to be a part of the investigation. Later that night, we find Misa here, who's minutes away from death. She's being chased by a stalker who corners her in a dead end, and as the man approaches, he takes out a knife. He's about to kill her when this mysterious creature writes a name down in a book, and suddenly, the stalker dies from a heart attack. A Death Note falls right next to his body, and when the girl picks it up for a closer look, she comes face to face with a monster. This is Rem, a god of death who tells her she can kill anyone if she writes their name inside this book. The girl likes the sound of that, and she's about to do a lot of damage.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, a Death Note has the power to kill anybody if you know their name and their face, so it's extremely important it doesn't fall into the wrong hands. Now, we learned in the first movie that Misa here is actually a famous TV host,
an idol.
And that's exactly why she shouldn't have the book. Not only will the girl's publicity and paparazzi make it impossible to keep a secret, but just imagine if one of the Kardashian girls got a hold of a Death Note, and you'll start to understand the dangers we're facing here.
Did he have to include that clip?
Imagine if one of the Kardashian girls got a hold of a Death Note, and you'll start to understand the dangers we're facing here. But if I were her, I might be less worried about the police and more worried about the infamous Kira, who has been secretly using his own Death Note to kill criminals throughout the city. We have no idea if he's going to see us as a threat, a competitor, or an ally. I would use this book only in life-threatening situations and keep the news to myself.
Keep it as
Later
much
that
as
day,
possible.
A newscaster reports that tapes have been sent to their station by someone claiming to be the second Kira. And if they don't play them live on television, they will all die. As a demonstration, the second Kira will kill this famous critic, and seconds later, the man drops dead in front of everyone. The people are shocked, as they now realize there are 2 Kiras. Supporters start to gather and cheer the critic's death outside the news station. A police officer arrives and tells them all to leave, but seconds later, he has a heart attack and dies in front of the audience. Light's sister checks on the man, and appearing on the broadcast, both Light and his father are worried. More haters start dropping dead all around her, and with Light's sister being a critic of Kira, she could die too. Okay, Light here is no longer the most powerful person in the world. But what nobody has noticed yet is that this guy was killed without anyone knowing his name. And that means the second Kira has given half of her life to giving Death God's eyes. Now, if I were Light here, I would be a little pissed off. You might think that 2 Death Note users should get along, but most people don't like to share power once they have it. If there were any...
Whoever is in control of this system, y'all, the elite, they don't want to give up that
disagreements
power.
in who to target or how to
Same
kill,
thing here.
it could turn into an absolute bloodbath. And with this power, she can find Light's name and kill him. If it were me, now would be the perfect time to take Ryuk's deal and give half of my life to see everyone's name out of pure necessity. This has become a nuclear arms race of supernatural killing powers, and we need to make sure we can kill another Death Note user if necessary, or else we won't survive.
You never know how many might pop
the killer
up too.
offers to help Kira, revealing that they have the eyes and want to see his death god. Hearing this, L is floored by the news, realizing if they have a literal death god, this changes everything. Light here heads to the station, hoping to find the second Kira, because if this killer truly supports him, Light can get help to kill Detective L. Okay, Light shouldn't be so happy here, because this second Kira just f***ed up big time. She admitted on public broadcast that she has magic eyes, and they're both doing this with supernatural gifts. This information could lead L here to learn about the Death Note, but she's done something even more stupid, and that's sending in a tape at all. Fingerprints are easy to find, and they could track the shipment back to the sender. But more importantly, it's actually been proven that any audio recording since 2005 can be located using just the background hum. The electrical frequency from power grids have a unique fluctuation, and matching that frequency to a database, they could analyze the tape's waveform data and locate...
Yo, I did audio engineering in college, guys. Frequencies are a big thing.
And matching that frequency to a database, they could analyze the tape's waveform data and locate which power grid the tape was recorded in.
That's
They
insane.
might also be able to find the time and date it was recorded, because this is a mini DV tape, which can carry embedded time code from the footage. She's made herself vulnerable in too many ways, and I would be trying to track down and get control of this user before the police get their hands on a death note. At the news station,
Gotta get to her
Misa's going
fast.
home when she sees the girl from the broadcast who challenged Kira. Using her special eyes, she's able to see
Light's
the girl's
sister.
name, but spots Light and notices she can't see how long he will live. She realizes that this means
That's
he must
him.
have a death note and that Light here is the original Kira. That
That's
night,
him.
she surprises him on his way home, admitting that she's the second Kira. He takes her back to his room where he chews her out for not being more careful. But when she surrenders her death note, she makes it clear she'll do anything he asks. Light asks why she's so willing to do all of this for him, and Rem here reveals that her family was killed by a burglar 3 years ago. The criminal was never convicted, but when she learned that Kira killed her family's
killed
murderer,
him.
she fell in love. After he hears her story, he agrees to work with her, but she makes one condition. She will be with L and use her death vision to find out his name only if he promises to date her once per week. That's when the Death God warns Light that if anything happens to her,
You have an unimaginably powerful book that could take out anybody, and all you care about is dating.
he promises to
Priorities.
date her once per week.
Priorities,
That's when the
y'all.
Death God warns Light that if anything happens to her, he'll be killed. Okay, one free girlfriend sounds like a pretty good deal. but we
One
have to
free
do this with caution,
girlfriend.
because if Elle still suspects us, then randomly introducing new people into our lives will look even more suspicious.
Yo.
Also, dating a TV star 2 days after her old girlfriend's funeral is not a good look. Personally,
that was
I
just
would
2
agree
days
to meet with
later?
her once a week, only after orchestrating a plausible explanation for the relationship.
Okay.
First, I would use my position in the investigation to interview everyone at the TV station and make sure
Alright.
that I met Misa here for the first time in front of Elle, where he could see her acting flirtatious. This way, we have a reasonable cover to see each other without instantly
Make it
arousing
seem-
suspicion.
make it seem
but if we
normal.
want full control over this situation, we can't stop there. This Death God is willing to kill us, which is against the rules. If she's this protective of her, we can manipulate her if we know she cares for Misa. I would respect the god's wishes for now, but look for a way to take advantage of her feelings for the girl later.
Right.
Light here goes to school the next day and is shocked to see Elle sitting behind him. The detective reveals that he knows the two Kiras have made contact and plans on wearing a mask to protect his identity. As they're
Already
leaving his
he
class,
knows.
He's taken aback when Misa here drops by and surprises him. He introduces her to Elle, and she takes off his mask to see his true name over his head. But when the students recognize her, they start to crowd around Misa here, and she leaves the campus to get away from the fans. As they part ways, Light here calls Misa to find out the detective's true name, but Elle answers the call. He stole her phone, expecting Light to make contact, knowing this one
Right
action
away.
might save his life.
Oh
he then tells
my
Light that
gosh.
Misa is being arrested.
Yo, y'all gotta give L the highest props, bro. This man L's so smart, bro. He got everything planned out.
That,
Oh my
knowing this one
gosh.
action might save his life. He then tells Light that Misa is being arrested. They found evidence that she might be the second Kira, and Light will have to stay away from headquarters until they're done interrogating her. The police capture Misa and bring her back to the station to lock up in solitary confinement.
Oh,
Elle
she
here
already
is
got
going to keep
captured.
her in chains until he can prove that she's not the killer. Okay, this was his biggest mistake. If Elle is still
How
suspicious
so?
of Light, then he has made himself vulnerable by working outside of the law, because if the public knew about this, it could shut their whole operation down.
okay.
I would take full advantage of this and get evidence of his human rights violations to get him removed from the case.
Torture is
Since
not-
Light isn't allowed back at headquarters, I would write one of the other investigators' names into the death note, but before they die, have them plant additional cameras, record several days of interrogation, and bring them back to me. Now,
Okay.
we can only manipulate people if it ends in their death, and killing an investigator will be hard to do without arousing more suspicion. But statistically, the most common cause of death for police are job-related fatalities. With this in
So,
mind, I would
you
kill
could
this
set it up.
investigator in the pursuit of another criminal, and this plan will require
Set it up
3
like
names
it's a
in the
plan.
death note. First,
Right.
I would have to find a desperate gambler to be the victim. This person withdraws $10,000 from his bank and waits in view of a CCTV camera. Then, my
What?
second victim will steal this man's cash in his car in front of the investigator and drive away. Lastly,
What?
I write that the investigator pursues the criminal in his police car, and after a dramatic chase, all 3 men die in a car
In a
When
crash.
the crime scene is discovered, both the crime and the chase
It just
will be
seems
recorded on the
natural.
investigator's dash cam and CCTV footage. Nothing in this scenario requires
This man Cinema Summary just as smart as L. That's insane thinking right there, y'all. I was about to say torture is not a thing, you know, police departments or FBI and CIA should be doing, you know what I mean?
recorded on the investigator's dash cam and CCTV footage. Nothing in this scenario requires Kira as an explanation, and as a result, we get video evidence of Elle torturing his suspects outside of the law.
Torture is
Elle
not
holds
right.
Lisa in solitary confinement for 5 days, but she still hasn't confessed. She then begs to be killed, but the police don't realize she's talking to her death god.
To her death
Light
god.
gets visited by Rem here, who's convinced Misa to give up the Death Note. He learns that a Shinigami can't abandon its human unless the Death Note user dies or they give it up. Now Misa has lost all her memories associated with it, including Light's secret identity, but she will regain her memories if she touches the Death Note
Touches the
again.
book.
The Death God reveals they made a promise to another Death God that used to watch over Misa. He saw her the night she was going to be killed and wrote the stalker's name in the Death Note, killing him to save Misa's life. But he turned to ash for breaking the rule that a Death God can only take life, not give it. Rem gave her the Death Note and fell in love with her. But she shouldn't have told this to Light, because with this new information, Light comes up with a plan to free her, and Rem is not going to like it. The next day, Light here tells the Death God to find a new user for the Death Note, and buries his own copy in the forest. He then tells Ryuk here that if he says the code word throw away, he will surrender his Death Note to wipe his own memory. Later, he goes back to the investigation's headquarters and tells them he could have a split personality and might be Kira without knowing it. He asks that they keep him under surveillance until Kira kills again. Okay, this is all a part of Light's master plan, but now he can't use his Death Note and has no control over the situation. But if this was our best idea, I would go one step further and tell everyone we should also make sure L isn't Kira, and that if I were to submit myself to observation, then he should do the same. If he refuses, it makes him look like he has something to hide. And if he agrees, then when no Kira murders are reported during this time in confinement, he will look just as suspicious. This gives us more freedom to control the situation, because L will become a suspect of his own investigation, and he might have to recuse himself.
That'd be some...
It's been 12 days since they caught Misa here.
That'd be so smart to do.
Since Light turned himself in. The confinement becomes unbearable, and Light here finally gives up his Death Note and tells Ryuk the code phrase to wipe his memory.
Throw away.
He passes out, but when he wakes up, he tells the team that he knows he's not Kira and declares they will finally put a stop to the killer. But this was all a part of Light's plan. Later that night, the reporter Kiyomi is on her balcony when a Death Note lands next to her. She picks it up and sees the Death God, who tells her that she's been given a special gift and Rem will teach her how to use it. The reporter opens her Death Note and starts writing. Criminals from all over Japan start dropping dead and in greater numbers than ever before. Meanwhile, the reporter Kiyomi has been proving herself at the news station with her coverage of the murder spree, but the anchor woman is jealous of the attention and lets her know it. But Kiyomi here doesn't take criticism well at all. On her way back home, she gets run over by a semi-truck and dies, leaving Kiyomi here as the new anchor woman. At the investigation headquarters, Light and Misa have been let out of their cells, but are still being held here. He's no longer believed to be Kira, and the investigation team is looking for a new suspect, but he might have a clue.
He got so many alibis now.
That this new Kira is a woman who is associated with Sakura TV, like their new anchor woman, Kiyomi. Arriving back home, Kiyomi here has no idea that her place has been bugged. The investigators watch her writing into a notebook, and when they get a closer look, discover the names of Kira's most recent victims, along with the names of criminals that are still alive. The only way to prove she's the killer is to let these people die, but Light here comes up with a plan for the investigators to catch the woman. Okay, this all seems very clever, but now the investigators know that this was done with supernatural powers. And that gives them a lot more to work with, because their investigation is no longer bound by what is physically possible. With this, a lot more to work with, because their investigation is no longer bound by what is physically possible. With this knowledge, L still has a reason to suspect that Light could be involved somehow. Now we have to use a Death Note to mislead the investigation. So I'll make several fake copies of the Death Note, write the names of my past kills inside them, spread them to several people throughout the city, and help with the investigation to those books. It will give them too many answers that don't add up. And in the meantime, I'll be able to get the original Death Note back while derailing the entire investigation. The next day, she receives a call from a man who reveals he has a recording of her using the Death Note and offers her the tape in exchange for 5 million yen. When she goes home, she finds secret cameras and microphones
she finds out how hers is bugged.
As the police get confirmation that the criminal's name she wrote down yesterday have died. They have their woman. Later that night, she finds out that the man has gone to her news station and plans on revealing her identity, and she has an hour and 25 minutes before she's exposed. She makes a deal with Rem to have the eyes of a death god,
Shinigami
so
eyes.
Can find this man's name and kill him.
Ooh, that's clean.
With her new abilities, she goes to the TV station. She arrives on the set of the news broadcast and falls right into Light's trap. She's blinded by the lights and tackled to make sure she can't see their faces. L here reveals she had been watching a fake broadcast, and the police chief demands to know how she killed people. She tells him she writes the names in a notebook and dares him to try it. L touches the book and sees a death god for himself. But when Light takes it from the detective, all his memories come rushing back to him. His master plan has worked, and now he can finish what he started. He had Rem create a fake rule stating he must kill someone every 13 days or else they die. Rem used this rule to trick Kiyomi to continue her killings while Light was being confined. making it clear that he wasn't Kira. Okay, now we've regained access to the Death Note and all of our memories. The problem is, everyone else knows about the Death God, but there's still a way to use this to our advantage here against L. If Rem has already done this much for us, we can also use her to lie, telling the investigators that L was the person who first possessed the Death Note. Then, I would have Ryuk plant Light's original Death Note among L's personal items, making it look like he's the original Kira and the reporter was the second. The other investigators might think L was trying to use the second Kira as a way to solve the case without revealing himself to be the killer, and they'll arrest him. The investigators realize the public won't believe the supernatural Explanation, but L is adamant that if they prove how this works, they can get her executed. While the rest of the team is distracted, Light here uses a piece of paper from the Death Note he hid in his watch to kill Kiyomi and gain ownership of the book. The investigation team goes back to their headquarters and tries to figure out if she was killed by another Kira. Light brings attention to the last rule of the book, saying an owner must keep on writing a name every 13 days or else they die. Since both he and Misa were confined for much longer than that, they're both innocent. But when L asks Rem if the rules are all true, the Death God lies that they are. With that, the team drops their surveillance of the two suspects, and Light is allowed to continue helping the investigation. Later, Light tells Misa to go to the forest and retrieve the Death Note he buried. She finds it and digs it up, but when she takes it out of the bag, all of her lost memories come rushing back to her. Now she remembers what Light told her to do. She goes back home and tries to write down L's real name, but she can't remember what it was. Having also lost the power to see people's names, she makes a deal with Ryuk to regain the Death God's eyes for another half of her life.
Bruh! Another half?
This is a really bad deal. The average life expectancy of a Japanese woman is 84 years.
84?
And now that she's taken the deal twice, she'll die at the age of 21, which only gives her months to live. If it were me, I would give up on learning L's true name and kill him the good old-fashioned way. First, I'd write someone else's name in the Death Note with the
Why he said the good old-fashioned way, though?
L's true name and kill him the good old-fashioned way. First, I'd write someone else's name in the Death Note with the cause of death being that he sends a letter to L claiming that he has information on the real identity of Kira and asks to meet to hand-deliver the evidence. When they meet, the man will shoot everyone at the scene, and although the Death Note won't let us kill him this way, he will be severely wounded and hospitalized, which gives us a great opportunity to kill him when he's at his most vulnerable. The hospital will also require medical records, which must be found under L's true name.
But you gotta account that he may use fake records and also have security around him when the man shows up to pop him, you know what I'm saying?
Vulnerable. The hospital will also require medical records, which must be found under L's true name. And we could still try using the Death Note if we can learn his identity this way. A week later, Kira has begun killing people again, and L thinks it's Misa. The investigators decide to consult with the FBI to test if the 13-day rule is real and take the Death Note with them, leaving L and Light behind.
They're gonna try to test it out.
The detective suspects that Misa still has the other Death Note and has sent his liaison to pick her up. She has no idea that she's being led right into L's trap. Rem knows she's in trouble and sacrifices herself by writing in the Death Note to save her as she turns to ash and the book burns to a crisp. Misa arrives at the headquarters when the liaison suddenly collapses from a heart attack and L here falls off his chair. He realizes Light's plan was to use the Death God against him and dies, knowing that he was right all along.
Rest in peace,
has finally beaten his greatest opponent. Reuniting with Misa, he uses his Death Note to write his dad's name and specifies that the book is brought back before he dies. When his dad arrives, Light asks him to hand over the Death Note, but the man reveals that he doesn't have it and that he saw everything that his son did. The rest of the investigation team come out of hiding and surround them. They're both placed under arrest, and Light is shocked when he sees L is still alive. He outsmarted him by switching out Misa's Death Note for a fake one, but wrote,
"Oh, this is different from the anime. The anime didn't do this. He took over in the anime."
When he sees L is still alive. He outsmarted him by switching out Misa's Death Note for a fake one, but wrote his name in the real book in the exact day he would die. By doing this, L has guaranteed no one can kill him with another Death Note. He reveals that he switched Misa's Death Note after the killing started again, and the whole rule testing experiment was a trick. Light here tries to use the Death Note paper from his watch, but one of the cops shoots it off his wrist and puts a bullet in his leg. With only one option left, he begs Ryuk here to kill the entire investigation team. There's nothing they can do to stop the Death God from writing down a name. But Ryuk reveals that he wrote down Light's name.
Light's name?
No matter how hard he begs, his fate can't be changed, and Light finally dies. L decides to burn the remaining Death Notes and resigns himself to his impending death. A year later, Misa has forgotten her memories of the Death Note, but still remembers to celebrate Light's birthday, as Ryuk flies around Tokyo looking for his next Kira. But what do you think? How would you beat Death Note 2? Let me know with a comment down below. Thank you so much for watching, leave a like and subscribe, and check out the How to Beat playlist for more videos like this. Until next time, have a damn good day.
Imagine if the anime ended like that. Because honestly, right? The anime introduces new characters. A younger version of L, right? And I didn't really like his character as much compared to L. That ending right there is so fire. It's such a better ending. Both of them die at that moment. If Death Note ended right there, bruh, the anime version. Again, man, props to Cinema Summary for such an amazing and detailed breakdown. All of his ideas, man. He's thinking like he's L, bro. He's thinking like he's L in these videos, fam. Y'all go check out the original video, man. Link is in the description. Let me know what y'all thought of the video down in the comment section. Let me know what you thought of my reaction. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Thank y'all so much for watching, especially if you made it to the end of the video. And I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.